So my talk is about vulnerability scanning of containers. So containers and security. I ended up doing this. I did a research in the end of last year. There was a request from customer that we would like to do this vulnerability scanning. Okay, I did a research, and I'm happy that I was able to do that in my work time. But this is as previous presenter also mentioned that this is not official. This is my learning experience, but I believe that there is something valuable. And let's go through the findings. So, but before getting there, I like to start with the context, because I'm a DevOps guy, so to say. So in a DevOps, the pillars are the technology, that meaning that the tools like build systems, Ansible, all the tooling. And then there's the practices like how the teams work, how the Git flows and so on. And then there's the culture part, how to break the silos. So now we are discussing more about DevSecOps. So we add some more words there. That means that in this case, the culture part is that now in the DevOps, we integrated the Dev and Ops. So in DevSecOps, we integrate the security people in the same mix. But of course, in technology side, that means that there needs to be new technologies, because in DevOps world, everything goes faster. So in security sense, also the technology change. And also the practice is so that we are able to evolve this whole system faster, because everything changes so fast. But this is just to give the context. So now we are discussing about the DevSecOps. And then one step down. So this is the overview that in the left-hand side we have the dev, there is someone coding, and the right-hand side you have the ship, so something goes to production. And in the middle there is the build and something test and so on. And today we are discussing more about the registry vulnerability scanning and library vulnerability scanning. But of course, just to give the context, in the security there is also, if you are in the production, it's more dynamic. There is someone could actually breach your system. There are the audits, and you can do more dynamic things, also automated. And of course, when you're coding, then you have the other toolings. So now I'm going to discuss about the containers toolings. That's somewhere in the middle, because now if you're coding, then you have tools like you can analyze your code that you're writing. And now, then you put it to container, and then this discussion comes in. And then there is also the nice concept of policy management. So like policy meaning that, okay, what is acceptable, how many vulnerabilities can we let to the production, and so on. And what ports can we use, and so on. So this is also the context. So today, next I'm going to jump to the demos. So security vulnerability scanning with tools like Clair and Encore. So how many of you have heard about Clair? Less than half. So I guess that not that many have used it, or any? 2, 3, great, 4, maybe the same people. And the next tool will be Encore. Is that familiar to you? 2 ones. Good. Okay. So I will show you how the Clair works. The Clair is quite simple, and maybe that's also the best part, because Clair is used. It's easy to integrate, and that's the reason it's used for if you, for example, use GitLab paid security product, it will use the Clair as one component. Then the Amazon ACR scanning uses this one, and then also the Red Hat QA, their container registry product. It's using this one as the security or the scanning product. Okay, let's jump into the examples. Oh, the same issue as with the, sorry. So I didn't mirror my screen, I see. Not yet. Are we now getting it? Yeah. Does it cut? Not bad. Yeah. So on the left hand side I have my examples. So I'm running now Clair as a Docker container. Clair is it's a service that you start, and that uses database. So I have run these already, but we have Clair configuration, and then we have Postgres container as a database, and then we have the actual Clair container that we will contact in these examples. So Clair is simple. You just push your local images there. So this Clair is one of the Clair compatible tools, and when you run this, it will get that container image I provide, and then it will push it to Clair. And Clair just simply gets the layers. So for example, we will now push the first one. It will get the, it already has the layers, so I'm scrolling up. There are quite many. Where is it? Okay, maybe we will check it on the next one. So I gave, for example, an old Postgres container there, and then it lists a lot of vulnerabilities. Okay, some of them are critical, and then there are different levels. And then let's pick the latest one. These are fast because I already tested. Oh, there are some. But let's now scroll the up. Maybe I will make it smaller. So it will it will analyze the layers, and then it will print out the findings. And the findings, it gets the OS vulnerability feeds, like Red Hat provides feed, and then Alpine provides feed, and then Debian provides feeds, and Ubuntu provides feeds, and then it combines them in the same database and compares that with what packages are installed. So the principle is really simple, and that's the way it works. But the issue is that, for example, now I will put it a bit larger. If we pick Alpine 3.6, now vulnerabilities. Let's pick Alpine 3.7. Okay, there is one. There is something broken with the feed, so it doesn't show the CVE and the description, but there is a vulnerability. So what's the issue here? Because now the more earlier one has less vulnerabilities than the new one. Let's write 10 here. 0 vulnerabilities again. So anyone guessing? So the issue is that Alpine feed doesn't have the vulnerability for the older version. So the main message is that you need to understand how the system works. And in this case, it is just using the feeds, nothing magical. So if the upstream provider doesn't mark this, for example, in this case, the Alpine 3.6 as vulnerable, then this won't show it. So you need something else also. And the another note is that, quickly show, that for example, okay, so, even in CentOS there seems to be some, but it's also the one of the issues and findings that there will be a lot of these. So there is a lot of noise, and I was about to show, yeah. I will scroll up. There are, in CentOS we had 7 high, and let's compare the Debian. There we had 45 or 46 findings, and was it 7 in the CentOS? Yes. So this is also the second point to understand, that as I have in the slides, the Debian is the most supported one, but that also means that there will be more noise, and then the RPM is somewhere in the middle, and Alpine is, as I mentioned, It depends on the upstream.
Yeah, this is kind of what you notice that some of these feeds are not as kind of trustable as or kind of
no.
reliable.
Yeah, and in fact, it was not only me that found it, because that was one of my revelations. And I dig quite deep and try to understand what is the difference between these. And the difference is that, for example, Debian marks. For example, Red Hat doesn't mark if the vulnerability is not fixed. It's not marked. So there might be something vulnerable that is not fixed, and in Debian they will mark that this is vulnerable even if it's not fixed.
Yeah, I was just thinking because lot of images are based on Alpine.
Yeah.
Of course, it's lighter than Debian or.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is kind of a little bit the cut down in the use of this Clair tool. Kind of that's the first look that if you kind of, at least if I think about the container that we are running a lot of based on Alpine, so I would probably get some kind of.
Yeah, I have more examples with Alpine later, so I still wouldn't call Alpine it's worst in this sense.
Yeah.
But if you use the latest version and you understand what you do, then I think it's okay. Then the next is the Encore. This is more later one, and this has more into it. So for example, it also does some checks from pip and npm that what Python and Node packages are installed, and then compares that to some feeds and gives more vulnerability findings. And then it also can check, for example, if there are secrets stored in the container, and it can report that. And then the third, maybe the one that they are trying to advertise is this policy. So it first does the analysis, and then you write a policy that, okay, for example, as I mentioned that, for example, you are not allowed to install SSHD on this container, and then it will mark it failure if there is something that doesn't match the policy. The Encore is such that it's similar, so that you have an Encore running, so that's a service, but in this case Encore you have like five containers instead of 1 or 2 in a Clair. So let's check Anchor quickly, and then I have one more example in the end. So to get the Encore running, you follow the documentation. It's like this. I have it already running. I think I have sorts these, and these are the default passwords and so on. I'll put it there. I also did this, so this image list will show something. So there are images that have already been analyzed. But to analyze image, we do something similar, so we push the image there. In this case, I guess it works so that the Encore gets the layer. And in fact, I'm not sure, did I say something wrong about the Clair, that I'm not 100% sure which one pulls the layer. Is it the client or the server? It's the server one, yeah. So in Encore, it's also that you provide, for example, this image is stored in a registry here or there, and then it will get that one. Okay. Maybe it's getting the new version, I don't know. I don't want to wait. We can check the old vulnerability result like this. And it will show, this was 3.7. Yeah, this was the one that also showed the vulnerabilities in the Clair example. And in this case, we can see that it's this usual library that is vulnerable. Let's check, for example, the 3.6 that we discussed before, and there is the same. Also, the Anchor doesn't show the vulnerability because it is using the same feeds, and in fact, this Anchor is so nice that we can, for example, see the feeds and their status. Let's see. Probably you can't read it, but there are Alpine, CentOS, Debian, Oracle Linux, Ubuntu, and then there is Amazon Linux also, and so on. And then they usually contact this CVE database to get the descriptions for the vulnerabilities. So these work similarly in this OS package scanning. And then quickly the policy part. So maybe I'll do this if you're able to read it better. Bounce, jumping. So there is a default policy, and we can get the policy. I don't remember. Yeah, which policy get. And then the policy ID. Okay, I lost it. And then you get a long JSON with the rules. But for example, I would like to show that in the this is how it looks. Though that, for example, in this case, it's still this allows having the port 222 defined in the Docker file. It also checks that the health check is there, and if the port 22 is there, it means that it doesn't allow it all. It warns if the health check is not there. And then in the end there is that it doesn't allow vulnerabilities that are greater than medium. So that is how the policies look. And then let's check the policy report for 3.7. This was the one that had something. And you can see that, okay, now in this case the report is the same. From these packages are the same, so that as we saw, and then there is okay, that health check is missing. So in the end, I would prefer Encore compared to Clair if you like just getting started, because it's easier to use and there is more into it, so you can play with all this. And then there is 3 different modes. For example, you can. Yeah, I think I will have time to show one more, and then I will show this inline scanning. And then, because in a Clair and Encore case, we use this push to engine, sort of. So we push that, okay, check this image. But there is also, you can just give a registry to Encore and it will scan all the images. And then you need to go to Anchore and check the results. But this inline scanning is such that it actually starts a Docker container that runs the Anchore and then does it in line, so you actually don't run the service, but it is started as you go. But this Docker container is like 5 gigabytes because it contains all the vulnerability information. So the next demo is GitLab. So now we have actual build, and then we scan. We add an Encore scan to this build, then we report, and if the report is fine, then we publish the image. There is no deploy phase. I was going to put Kubernetes there, but I didn't have enough time. So I have here a repository with code, and here in another window I have my GitLab, and this GitLab is running in Vagrant in my local laptop. So let's check that. Let's first put here the broken one, 3.7. If we put 6 here, it will pass, as we know. And then we will commit. To 3.7. Root. And now, I don't know how familiar with GitLab, but now it automatically starts the build. This will take about 3 minutes, and while it's running, we go to Files and check how it's integrated. So this is somehow similar as the Azure DevOps demo we had in the last meetup. So this is a usual concept nowadays that you have this CI/CD file. GitLab has also this YAML file where you define the build or the whole pipeline. Build and these are not that exciting because it's basically running Docker build, inside Docker didn't build. And then we have the scan. So here we do the inline scanning. So we use this inline scan image that is like 6 gigabytes, and then we go inside the image and then run one command, and it will do the scan inside of these 2 containers that we have here. The good thing in Encore is that there are better examples for integrating with all the tools compared to Clair. Yeah, I have other things to say about Anchore in the end. So, and then the reporting, the first one prints out the report with this RF flag, and then we read the report here, and checking the JSON, we check that are there more than one vulnerability, or even, this will fail even if there is a single vulnerability found. And then we push it to the actual latest tag when it's finished.
So you push even if you find like vulnerabilities?
Yeah, actually, it is pushed in the build as with the hash. I mean, the tag is like, I can show it. Maybe it's easier to show from the pack. It's used from the registry. This is the GitLab internal registry. So we have these build tags with master and then the git commit hash. It will use these, so we'll push here first. Then it will do the scan using this one. So the Encore will get the image using this from the GitLab registry. And in the end, when the report is fine, then it is pushed here. So that's the latest.
Is it based only on the report, or you can connect it to database to actually get the history change?
Yeah, we could, if you mean that we could contact the Encore and get the results. Or
so like there is a result history.
Yeah, there is. Yes. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, that's a good point, because now I'm using the inline scanning, so there is no actual Anchore running. So it is started when the build goes, and then it's teared down. But if we would have Anchore somewhere, then we could do so that we say to Anchore that okay, now we have a new image ready, please check it, and then we could check it straight from the. Okay, maybe even if we build a good enough script, also the return code could say that okay, now it failed. But yes. Actually, the inline scanning does it also so that it first puts it there and then checks the results. But it's also already, or everything this is put in one single script. Okay, let's check if we are done. So we can quickly check the logs. So this is just the basic Docker build, as you can see. Then the scanning. There is not much to see. There is just status analyzed. Woohoo. And then we go to report, where we had our bash that said that one or more vulnerable packages found. And there is the same muzzle as we had before. And to prove that this works, let's change it back to 11. Okay. Yeah, I pushed it. Another build started, and we can check the result from the previous one. that it was able to push it. So now there is no vulnerable packages found. This previous list is just a listing of packages installed there.
Wouldn't you, in like best case scenario, in a way, use the registry scanning plus the inline?
Mm-hmm.
If you have some containers which are running there, like for a month.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks. So. Yeah, you can ask if there's something else, but I would also jump here, because that's one of the things that now I showed that how do you integrate in the pipeline, but that's very good finding that you probably also have some applications that you just push into production and then you don't change them. The pipeline is not run daily or weekly, so you need something to scan the registry and to inform that, okay, now I have something in the production that has vulnerabilities in the packages. So yes. That's something that needs to be added into the mix to get better coverage. Yeah, please.
There's also tools, some tools, can't remember the names, but they act as sort of a admission controller in Kubernetes. So they basically check that, okay, you're deploying a pod with this image. They validate that how many vulnerabilities that images have, and basically say that, okay, we're not allowed in.
But if it's running already, in that case, like it just
but when you configure your cluster with that sort of an ambition controller, you can't get anything in.
But the vulnerabilities are found afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually the case.
Yeah.
True.
I would guess that they can analyze it afterwards too. I haven't.
And kill your app.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's no vulnerability if it's not running.
Yeah, this admission control, I think, I see it as a part of this policy management. So that's one way to enforce the policy that, okay, only these containers are allowed. But yeah, still the case that if something is running, that also needs to be found. Yeah, and now I'm already summing up. So the Encore, as I mentioned, it has more features, but the Clair is simpler, or the Clair is simpler. It depends on the preferences. If you are, for example, building a pipeline that requires only this OS package scanning, I would pick Clair. But if you research something, the Encore is better choice. And there is also the one thing that I'm a bit always, I have my doubts, is this Encore is a product of a startup. And that means that it's also rapidly evolving, and also that they are not, if they do something very great and fine, it's not going to be the open source. So they are always pushing that, okay, this is the core, you can use this, but if you want the actual features, then you need to contact the sales, and the documentation is somehow lacking. But in any case, the Anchore documentation is good. And I would say that Clair documentation is not that good, but that's also because the Clair is more like tool, not ready-made solution. Okay. Then just to mention that here are the links. This blog was inspired by Stephen Ackerman's Kubernetes blog that has the same findings about the containers. I wanted to give this talk just to emphasize that to me this was eye-opening, and this was also a very nice research project to get deep and check how for example, Clair works and Anchor works. And the main message is that when you enable such tools, or if you use the easier container scanning tools, it's good to understand how it works before you use it. So thank you. Any comments, questions? Or any more?
Did you try any other tools for your comparison?
In this case, no, I didn't. Yeah. In fact, I have forgotten all the other alternatives that I checked. So I didn't, yeah.
How about vulnerability scanning for your own code? So this is
Yeah.
vulnerability scanning for others.
True. Yeah. So as I here mentioned that now we only discussed about, no, wasn't even library scanning. It was more about pre-packaged dependency scanning that we discussed. But yeah, if you think about the whole picture, then you need to have a tool for code scanning.
Which are not these tools.
yeah, they are not these tools. Yeah, you can have this in pipeline, but in a sense it's quite late if you get it only in the build that, okay, now this is failing. Okay, it's a usual convention nowadays that you test in the build phase, but I would preferably have the check in your local setup instead of always pushing it to somewhere.
I think Snyk does the whole thing.
Yeah. They have a product. I know the page and I have researched, but I haven't tried the product.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah. Have you tried any other products that could be good?
Yeah, we're using Black Duck.
Oh yeah, sure.
And that
Commercial.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
I know about Aquasec and Twistlog and
Yeah,
those
yeah,
ones,
true.
There's actually quite a few of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I would say that if we go to the, for example, code scanning and more the advanced, there is no open source solutions. That's my view.
Yeah, kind of, for example, we
Yeah.
do it in a lot of states. So we scan, for example, code with SonarQube,
Yeah.
and then we have other things, and then that's for the code, and then we scan the container with something else.
Mm.
We scan even the whole solution with
Something else.
like what is that? Codenomicon and things like that.
Mm,
They make also
true.
this kind of like denial of service attack type of.
True.
But a lot of those are open source or free.
At least OWASP has the container which can scan for the top vulnerabilities. So that's which is open source. And they're listed.
Do you mean in this case code scanning or dynamics?
For your own vulnerabilities.
Dynamics, yeah. I think there is also the dynamic scanning solution. I don't remember the name.
Microsoft has credential scanners also. So you
Yeah,
can
true.
use those.
There are a lot of alternatives, but it's.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the current status is that you need to mix and match, as you mentioned there, that you need to mix and match all these to get. And currently the coverage for open source solutions it's probably there in the middle. But I'm also learning, so please give a next talk about this topic and let's learn more. Thank you. Anything else?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.